So let's try factoring the next one here. So remember that whenever you're going to do the factoring of a complex trinomial, so always remember to do the common factoring first. Always. So this is the first term here. This is the second term. That's the third term. Now see there we have x square here, we have x in here, but the last term doesn't have the x, means the variable is not common. That's fine. But what about the 6, 10, and the 4 here? Now all of these numbers are divisible by 2, so 2 is common here. So that means I can factor out all the I can take the 2 from 6, I can take the 2 from 10, I can take the 2 from the 4 here. So see the 2 is common right now, so we're going to factor it out here. So 6x squared, from that you're taking out the 2. So what would be left in the bracket? 6 divided by 2, that's 3. Leave the variable as it is. Plus sign. Now again, because from the 10 we are taking out the 2, how to see what's left in there? Just divide the 10 by 2. It's a 5. Leave the x variable as it is. Then minus sign. Now again from the 4 we are taking out the 2. So just divide the 4 by 2 to see what's left in there. 4 divided by 2 is 2 here. Now this is left. Now see there in the brackets here we see it's a trinomial. This one looks like ax squared plus bx then plus c. Now compare that here. So this is the x squared, that's the coefficient besides the a. That the coefficient of the x squared is the a. That means if you compare that here, the coefficient of the x squared is 3. So we see that a is positive 3. Now the b is the coefficient of the x. So what's the coefficient of this x right now? It's a positive 5. So that means the b is 5 here. So just compare the a, b and c with the given expression we have here, the one we got in the brackets, and find out what's the a, b and the c values. C is always a constant here. So this is a negative 2. So c right now is negative 2. So what are we going to do for these a, b, c here? We're going to find out the sum, which is the b value, and we're going to find out the product, which is the a times c. So again remember, what is the product here? When you multiply the two numbers, the answer is the product. That would be the product here, and when we're going to add up the two numbers here, the result is going to be the sum. So let's see what is the sum here. It's a b here. B is 5, so sum will be 5. That means we need to find out what two numbers here we should add it to get the sum 5. Now next up is product will be a times c. A is 3 times c is negative 2. Now positive 3 times negative 2, that's negative 6 here. So the product is negative 6, so product will be negative 6. So we are looking for the two numbers. When we multiply them, it gives us the negative 6. We have to find out first of all the two numbers that multiplies to negative 6 and adds up to 5 here, so that we can split this middle term here. Splitting the middle term into the two terms here. Let's see how. So this is a negative 6 here. Let's see how we can get the 6 first of all. So we know 2 times 3, that's gonna be 6 here. Now if one of them is gonna be negative, maybe 2 is gonna be negative, maybe 3 is gonna be negative. Since the sum is positive here, so smaller number is gonna be negative. One of them will be a negative here, maybe 2 or 3. Why we picked up 2 will be negative here? Because the sum is positive. If the sum is gonna be negative, then the bigger number is gonna be negative. So negative 2 times 3 will be negative 6, and when I add negative 2 and 3, that's gonna be positive 1. So definitely sum should be 5 here, not 1. So this is not working here. So again, how to find out then? Always get the two numbers from the product, not from the sum. Okay, so we know 2 times 3 makes 6, and that's not working. If I try 6 times 1, that will be 6 as well. But one of the number will be negative. That's how we're gonna get negative 6. Because the sum is positive here, then that means smaller number will be negative. So 6 times negative 1 will be negative 6. And when I add the 6 plus negative 1, see, plus minus is a minus. So 6 minus 1 is actually 5 here. So we know how we can make the 5. So there was a procedure here. Randomly, we just not assume that here 6 minus 1 will be the 5 here, because the 6 times negative 1 gives us the product negative 6, and 6 plus negative 1 gives us some positive 5. So but there is a 5x here. So instead of writing the 5x, we can write here 6x, so include the x with both of that here, then 1x. So if you solve the 6x minus 1x, then you will get the 5x. So don't forget to include the x with the both the 6 and the 1. So let's see. So this 2 here, which is the common factor, that stays the same. And then in the brackets here, the first 3x squared, that stays the same. And the negative 2 stays the same. So instead of writing the positive 5x, we can write this here positive 6x minus 1x, because that's the same thing. Positive 6x minus 1x will be positive 5x. So it's going to be positive 6x minus the 1x. That's the 2 here. Okay. So after this step here, the next thing here is going to be doing the common factoring. Uh, doing the factor by grouping. So we need to group the first two terms and then the last two terms. So this 2 stays the same, and the next here is gonna be from the first two terms here, what is common. Let's do the factor by grouping. So this is 3 here, that's a 6. Both of them are divisible by 3. That's the highest number we can divide both of these terms by. 3 is divisible by 3, 6 is divisible by 3, so 3 is common. This is the x square, that is x to the power of 1. So what's common between these here? When you are deciding the common factor for the variables, always the variable is common here with the least exponent. So this is x to the power of 2, 2 is the exponent. This is x to the power of 1, 1 is the exponent here. So that means which one is the least exponent? This one, x to the power of 1. So this term is gonna be common here. So let's see what's left in there. So 3 is gone because we are factoring out from the x square. If I take out 1x from that, it's just the x left, plus 6. From that we are taking out 3. So just divide the 6 by 3. It's 2. X is gone. Now, from the last two terms here, from the last group right now, from this one here, so what is common? So this is 1. This is 1. That's a 2 here. So both of them are divisible by 1. But because this term here, the first term is a negative, so we got to take out the negative as well as the 1 here. We don't have the variable commons, just only negative 1 is common between the terms here. So from the negative 1x, negative 1 divided by negative 1, that's positive 1, or you can just write the 1x or just the x here. Negative 2, we are taking the negative 1 out of that here, so just divide the negative 2 by negative 1, that would be positive 2. Now see there, x plus 2 here in the brackets, x plus 2 here in this bracket, that's the same here. So means it's a common here. So 2 stays the same, this common factor. X plus 2 is common, so write that in the bracket. And then if you take out x plus 2 here, we're going to left with 3x minus 1, but that will be in the brackets. So we're going to put the brackets here, then 3x minus 1. Remember that here we don't need to put this bigger bracket here, so it's just gonna be 2 times this factor here, x plus 2, then times 3x minus 1. So this is the way to factor out the complex trinomial using the sum and the product. We're going to split the middle term, and we just notice that how we're going to do that here. So after that we did the factor by grouping. So group the first two terms and the last two terms and do the factoring for those groups. And after doing that here, remember that in the bracket the expression should be the same. If it's not same, then you again need to go back, check out if you got the right sum and the product, if you wrote the right ones as in the terms over there. If something is wrong, then maybe that's why you're not getting the same expressions in the bracket. After that here, just factor out whatever is in the bracket and see what's left in there, and that goes in the next bracket, and we're done with the factoring the complex trinomial. I hope you understand it.